Hello, welcome back to Create a FinTech Startup. My name is Nicole.
And I'm Jessica.
And again, we aim to be the most transparent channel on YouTube about creating a FinTech startup. Today, we are talking about pivoting, changing ideas, changing direction, something that's very important in startups and with large companies. And we're going to talk to you today about our pivots and our change of directions. So, Jessica, do you remember our very first pivot and where we changed first?
The first pivot, there's been so many of them. It would have been back in March, correct?
Well, I think we
It depends on the style of pivot. You're talking about marketing pivot, pivoting with your the actual product itself, under product when you're still in discovery mode. I think there's different type of pivots, and you have to look at every angle to see if you're going down the right path, and if not, you need to make that pivot and dart the other way.
Sure. So can you think of our first pivot?
As in with the product or in marketing?
As in the first time we stepped back and said, okay, we need to change direction.
Well, the one that comes to mind was when the marketing, when we were trying to, how was it, go directly toward certain individuals for marketing and try to gather information.
So when I think of our first pivot, I'm thinking about how we decided to go with a smaller office space and not with a really large office space. Or I think of
No, I remember the first one now.
Yeah, or I think of some of our early pivots in regard to how we're going to get you on our team full time, what our team is going to look like, structuring the company, the name of the company. We were pivoting in all different directions. That marketing pivot you're talking about may have been our 60th, 70th pivot. So
yes, now that you're talking about that, yes, like I said, you have to be more specific in when you're talking about a pivot. If you're talking about a massive change, or you're just planning the direction that the company's going down, like when you said about the office space, we had looked at a absolutely phenomenal space right around the corner from our current office in Dunedin, Florida. Beautiful. Nicole and I could see everything expanding there, but we had to look at our finances. Finance is the biggest thing that really dictates most of your pivots in the beginning. You have to, one of the ones that I think might have been even before that was with that company that works with venture capitalists and shows you what you can invest in, or not invest in, but who will invest in you, along with how big their funds are. That was a rather unique pivot and we went away from it because we weren't ready. That would have definitely put a major strain on our finances when we were talking about going with that particular company.
You're talking about PitchBook.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we aim again to be the most transparent channel here about creating a FinTech startup. So Jessica and I were thinking about using a company called PitchBook, which allows us to find investors and funds that will invest in our round of startups. It gives you all the information about what their dry powder is, who the contacts are, their email addresses, phone numbers, how many people are at their firm. It gives us so much information, but it's not a free service. It costs money. We can't tell you exactly how much it costs. That's what's under the NDA with them, but you're welcome to check out PitchBook, and
very good company.
It could be the right move for your company to make right now to find that funding. But we decided against using it just because of the cost up front and also where we were in development.
Yes, it was. I still don't think we would use their services just exactly right now. I think that they would be coming up here in the next few months. their services would be very valuable to us. But months ago, no, we would have been looking at the information going, okay, we know where we want to go. But when you go and talk to those particular people, they would not, they would said, you're not ready yet. And to know that you're not ready uh, is good.
So
You've
let's
got,
keep talking about
yeah,
pivot. So let's talk about, some of the tenements that you instill and yourself and also in the company about being fluid, listening, before you create action. These are all prequels to a pivot. So some of the things that we like to think about at our company is being fluid and listening. And those are two qualities that lend themselves to successful pivots. So every day could be a new pivot in your company. It doesn't have to be a large change of direction or a change of name or a change of leadership. But one day you might be focusing on how you're going to develop your social media impact. And then you might pivot on a Tuesday and say, let's actually start developing our mainstream marketing impact and scaling back social media. So that could be a medium to small pivot. But you need to have qualities instilled in your company early on that lend themselves to successful pivoting.
yes. I look at the pivoting as almost sometimes running up to a wall. You could slam through it, but you are going to have to take a lot of force to go through that wall. You can see over the wall, can't make it through it. And when a pivot, you have to go, you're running down the wall, still looking over at the prize, knowing that you have to go lateral in order to get to the other area you want to go through, like almost like a labyrinth. Um, and if you're not able to pivot, you're going to get stuck and something is going to go very, very wrong. You have to adapt very quickly. Sometimes you won't see it. Your co-founder, Nicole, will see things that I don't see. And then sometimes I see things that she doesn't see. And the listening part is the most difficult thing. Would you agree, Nicole, that we're still, all throughout your entire life, you're learning. And I learn a lot about myself and I learn about Nicole. We both, we take our ego and we have to shelf our ego and zip our lips and listen to the other person. Because seeing it from somebody else's point of view is critical. You will not know everything at any point in time ever. And someone that's 2-3 feet to the left of you might see a different angle that you need to go down. And it's critical that you listen to other people, especially your co-founder.
So pivoting is essential, and it will happen in no matter what sort of company that you're starting. Pivoting is just the idea of realizing that the best route wasn't the one that you were already on, and companies that don't pivot successfully will fail. They don't fail maybe within a week or a month or a year or even a decade, but they will eventually fail if they don't change direction. So it doesn't matter if you're a startup of 50, 60, 70-year olds or 20, 30, 18, 19-year olds. You need to change direction fast. Your way is not always the best way. And shut up, listen, and come up with a game plan. So also some of the qualities that we instilled other than listening and being fluid is the idea that if we are going to make a pivot, we give it a 48 hours. So we don't just, let's use the social media example, where you've been pouring all of your resources, time, money, and energy to creating a really great social media marketing plan. And this is what you're going to focus on. These are the people that you're going to hire because you know that social media is very impactful in the product that you're developing. Your potential customers are all over social media. So you say, hey, let's spend most of our time doing social media. Well, then another executive or just anyone in the office on your team says that, you know what, I know that all of our customers use social media, but guess what? We can buy Spotify ads for a quarter of the price. We're going to reach this market. They're still our customers, but we can tailor ads that will eventually lend themselves to successful social media ads, just not right now. So I think we should go with Spotify, Pandora, or some of the mainstream marketing instead of social media. And let's say you like that idea right away. Well, don't start doing that idea right then and there. Give it a good 48 hours, a day, 2 days, a week even, to realize that you are changing direction. Make sure everyone on your team knows which direction you're going to, and then start making a game plan in regard to that direction.
I agree. When we came up with the time, we had made a few knee-jerk reactions. One or two of them, they weren't costly, but when you look back, you can see some of the things that we did on a very quick notice, and then we started to pay attention to why we did that. And every time something comes up into your face, you must be in control of your emotions. That is critical. And I always like to say that you need to stay balanced and look at what is in front of you. Don't do that reaction really fast. Pay attention to why it came at you and the multiple routes that you have to take to get around that issue, or which way you're going to pivot. I do like giving us a little bit of time, because even when Nicole and I have to separate and talk and think about it on our own, you can't think clearly if someone's in your ear going, hey, if we go this way, we need to do this, 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 this. You need to step back, be by yourself. Nicole likes to do a lot of her creative things by herself, and so do I. You don't have outside influences guiding your corrective flow. And when you get back together, you're able to show multiple paths. You have to also realize that the one that you see might not be the best one. It might be a quick one, but in the long run, you might have to take a longer route in order to get to your final destination. And it's critical that you realize that you need to pay attention to what you're doing.
Sure. And a lot of people on your team or outsiders may see pivoting or changing direction as a setback or mini failures, but they're actually the complete opposite. Now, I'm not a physicist, but acceleration happens when change of direction and change of speed happen, right? So you need a change of direction in order to accelerate. So these pivots are all changes in direction, and thus acceleration, if you're looking at it from a basic physics sense. So in a startup or in a company, a change of direction is always mini successes, and people may see them as mini failures because you told the world you were going to market with a product that made carbon fiber horseshoes. Well, now you're making traditional horseshoes, but you're doing it in a more sustainable way. So all of your original investors and everyone around you is saying, well, what happened to the carbon fiber? And you can say, look, we realize that we can create X type horseshoe for a lot cheaper and still use our unique designs and an approach to marketing. And maybe carbon fiber is in our future, but we're still doing what we wanted to do, creating horseshoes. And it just so happened that this pivot saved our company and made the launch successful. So just because you're not creating carbon fiber horseshoes right away doesn't mean you can't create them later on, but make sure that you're pivoting to aid in your success. So the number one goal is to finish a product, to create something that works and that someone wants to buy. So it would be great to have a carbon fiber horseshoe and be able to sell that carbon fiber horseshoe right away to equines. Well, you realize that you need 20 or $30 million to really manufacture these horseshoes. That doesn't mean that you're not going to do that, but you could also manufacture this horseshoe for $10,000 and create a marketing plan for $10,000 and create a sales team for $10,000. And now you have a $30,000 go-to-market plan instead of a $30 million go-to-market plan. And you can build your product around this original idea of creating horseshoes, but do it in a more doable way. And then later on, start gaining investments and rounds of funding for that carbon fiber horseshoe. And that's what we're doing in our company. We created a concept of creating a product that would aid in micro investments. And when you go down the path, and we'll talk about later about bank partnerships and programs and money processors, there's a minimum threshold of capital, and that's might be our next episode of the episode after. But we realized that we need to change direction in order to create a product that we can have right now to sell. So again, today was about pivots, and pivots are signs of success. Just to go over again, you need to create tenements in your company where pivoting is seen as a sign of success and always doable. So making listening and being fluid forefront in your company, and also wait a little bit. We talked about waiting and
Timing's everything.
Yeah, and making maybe a 48-hour wait before you go down that pivot path. So again, thank you for tuning in to Create a FinTech Startup. My name is Nicole.
I'm Jessica.
And we'll see you next time.